afternoon to all of you, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, dear friends. It's a very great pleasure for me to welcome you to our Progressive Economic Policy Conference, Forging the New EU Agenda. I am Tobias Mörschel, and I'm the new director of the Friedrich-Ebert Foundation here in Brussels, and it's for me a very great honor and a genuine pleasure to welcome you this afternoon. We are very much delighted to see such a large turnout today, which goes to show that we have chosen not just the right venue, but especially the right topic and the opportune moment to hold this conference. I think our Progressive Economic Policy Conference provides an excellent opportunity for progressives to unite at the beginning of the new EU legislative period. Ursula von der Leyen has just presented her candidates for the new Colleague of Commissioners, and we all read or tried to understand the mission statements. From my perspective, as I'm being quite new here in Brussels, I took over office just a couple of months ago, the 1st of June. Being a relatively new observer to the Brussels system, I must confess that the new Commission and the division of powers and responsibilities between the designated commissioners appears to me to be a somewhat complex puzzle to understand, with a rather confusing array of responsibilities, and we have to see how it's going to work out in the next 5 years. It is, however, very evident in the view of the composition of the European Council and the future Commission that there's a distinct lack of progressive imprint. In the light of this, it becomes clear that the role of Parliament, and especially of our S&D members of Parliament, is of very, very great importance. The European Parliament has now distributed all the responsibilities internally, and the process of preparing the hearings has commenced. It is now the responsibility of the Parliament, of the parliamentarians, to ensure that progressive priorities are heard, reflected in policy, both within the Parliament itself, but also in the Commission and the European Council. Okay, so slightly better. I don't start again. Our policy conference today and tomorrow is an unprecedented international cooperation between social democratic foundations like FEPS and Friedrich-Ebert Foundation, trade unions, the S&D Group, in the Parliament, and PES to coordinate priorities, strategize together for the pursuit of the first of the next 5 years, and push together to make the EU economic policy more progressive, as it looks like at the moment if you're just reading the letters from Ursula von der Leyen. But our conference also builds and would not be possible without the daily work, our daily project work and advisory policy work which we are doing at FEPS and at FES, which builds expertise and policy making insights, relationship networks needed to make such an event as today's event possible. I would like to use the opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to FEPS and FES organization team, including all the advisors who played a very crucial role in organizing each session and roundtable, and all the administration who have worked across organizations in FEPS, in FES, here in Brussels, in Berlin, and other countries to make this conference a reality. We are very delighted to see such a high interest from progressive organizations in this collaboration. And we are very grateful to all the high-level representatives who agreed to come together over the next 2 days to explore ways of working together, how we can do that more closely. Now, I would have to thank many, many, many people. I won't thank all of them. I just mentioned some who were very, very helpful in preparing, in having this conference. I would like to start with René Ripasi, but also Matthias Ecke, Gabi Bischoff, Esther Lynch, Helena Dalli, I goes on, Lina, Gálvez, Muñoz, Zita Gurmai, Isabel Schömann, Oliver Röpke, Jonek Polek, many other people very, very decisive for this campaign. A big thank to all of them. Their presence and the active involvement in preparing this conference, as well as the presence of so many other top-level participants, along with the encouraging response and feedback and interest that we had from invited experts and partners, both from trade unions and civil society, demonstrate the importance of focusing our priorities and working together strategically at the start of this new EU legislature. I'm really hoping that the same motivation and spirit will guide all our political work in the next 5 years. We at FES are committed to supporting progressive priorities, and we are ready to work with you on this. I'd like to thank all of you for coming, and I really do hope very much, I'm quite sure it's going to be, that our discussions are going to be very, very fruitful and inspiring for all of us. I now want to invite Laszlo to take the floor, and once again I would like to thank FEPS for the very good cooperation, also David Rinaldi and Cedric Koch. They are the key persons who made this conference possible. I want to thank you, FEPS, once again for the good cooperation in preparing this conference, having this conference, and having so many good progressive ideas together. Laszlo, the floor is yours.
Dankeschön. Dear Commissioner Dalli, dear friends, colleagues, indeed it's a great pleasure to open together with Tobias this policy conference. And remembering how it started, indeed, at the end of last year, we started to discuss what we need to do in this political year, 2024, when a new European Parliament was elected, when we will witness the creation of a new, maybe you can also say a new model European Commission, and a lot of crucial things would need to be decided about the present, but even more the future of the European Union. And we have many similar cooperations with Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, sometimes big, sometimes smaller scale, but I think this comes at a crucial moment when increasingly more and more people in this city are interested in policy substance, and the attention will shift a little bit away from the political analysis, which dominated the spring period, when we speculated, which political group can have how many mandates. This also was very much part of the activities of FEPS and partners in Brussels events, but also elsewhere, sometimes online, sometimes offline. But this is indeed the time to discuss policy seriously. And I think we should appreciate that the Commission President, Madame von der Leyen, in a way kicked off this discourse with the presentation of the Draghi report. But we also need to understand the Draghi report highlights one segment of the policy agenda. And for us, socialists, social democrats, progressives, it's very important to see a much wider spectrum and the consistency between the different policy segments. And I think this conference, with its well-crafted sessions, plenary as well as workshop, will serve this purpose. Let me add that it's not entirely unique that FEPS organizes a kind of policy-focused discussion with policymakers, analysts, stakeholders. We have a tradition to organize so-called review meetings. And a few years ago, we were honored by Commissioner Dalli, still at the old FEPS headquarters, to welcome her at a review meeting when we discussed what needs to be done for equality in general terms, but with a particular focus on gender equality. And it's really a great pleasure that today, when we discuss a broader agenda with the intention of a stock taking and also charting the progressive way forward for the next 5 years, we can welcome her back. And the first session will be indeed devoted to this very important question, very important for progressives, at a time when the progressives needs to work very hard, that the questions of equality remain at the center. and do not get marginalized in the political scope of the European Commission. I say political because it's not only a specific policy issue. I think it's also a question of the broader legitimacy and public support of the European Union, whether we can really, in substance and not only in token measures, serve the purpose of social equality in the European Union. Indeed, through this process of organizations, we experienced a strong interest. I told my colleague David that indeed we thought about a policy conference. Now it's becoming a policy summit because a lot of things which really matter, starting with the questions of economic policy, the new orientation, but also the consolidation of a social and climate agenda should be part of our reflections. And we would need to ensure that subsequently it doesn't just remain within this room, but the lessons distilled would be fed into the policy discussions, in the preparation of the commissioner designates, in the preparations of everybody who would need to deal with these questions in the EU institutions from the progressive side. Just like Tobias, I would also like to thank the partners, including the group of the Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament, which is a long name, but you know them as the S&D Group in short, and also the European Trade Union Confederation, which is a partner. Very often in Brussels we use the word progressive family. And I was wondering why in the national context, Zita, we never use this word family when we discuss the different center-left parties and other parties which should form a family. Maybe we can restart with this concept, but that's for another discussion. I thank you again for coming. I wish you an excellent conference on behalf of all the organizers and the colleagues which prepared this. And I would like to hand over the moderation to the member of the FEPS Scientific Council and the former Foreign Minister of Malta, Alex Beras Trigona, who is going to introduce the Commissioner and moderate this next session. Thank you very much.
Just 2 words to introduce myself, as I see Tobias from FES and FEPS with Laszlo. My white hair is a witness to my having been with FES in the time of Siegfried Bangert, whoever remembers Siegfried Bangert, and with FEPS from the creation. Well, let me come to my task here today, which is mainly to introduce my old friend, Commissioner Helena Dalli. It is indeed my great pleasure to introduce our first guest for this conference, the first European Commissioner for Equality, Dr. Helena Dalli. And as we approach the end of this Commission's mandate, we do have an opportunity to reflect on the significant achievements in the field of equality that have been made under her leadership. Despite increasing resistance from conservative forces, and we should mull on that much more, the past 5 years have seen a remarkable wave of initiatives aimed at strengthening equality across Europe. So look at this countervailing wave. Under Dr. Dalli's guidance, the European Union has taken firm and decisive steps forward. Upon taking office as the first European Commissioner for Equality, she launched 5 major equality strategies designed to shape policy over the next 5 to 10 years. These strategies included the Gender Equality Strategy 2020-2025, the Strategy on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities 2020-2030, the Roma Framework for Action 2020-2030, the first European Anti-Racism Action Plan 2020-2025, and the first European LGBTIQ equality strategy 2020-2025. Throughout this mandate, we have witnessed significant legislative initiatives aimed at promoting gender equality and combating violence against women and girls. One of the key proposals was the Directive on Pay Transparency, which seeks to ensure that workers of all genders receive equal pay for work of equal value. This directive protects employees from both direct and indirect discrimination based on gender. We also saw the European Union finally ratify the Council of Europe Convention on Preventing and Combating Violence Against Women and Domestic Violence, commonly known as the Istanbul Convention. Furthermore, Commissioner Dalli put forward the EU's own directive on combating violence against women, which has recently also come into force. In addition to these initiatives, Dr. Dalli has strengthened the framework for equality bodies, institutions across the EU, ensuring their independence and providing them with the necessary resources to carry on operating effectively. Thanks to her unwavering determination, after 12 years of stalled negotiations, Commissioner Dalli successfully unlocked discussions on the directive regarding gender balance on corporate boards of companies listed on stock exchanges. This achievement was made possible through close cooperation with member states and the determination of the European Parliament, particularly within our own political family, as Laszlo was citing before. As President Ursula von der Leyen stated in her address to the European Parliament on the 18th of July of this year, quote, "On women's rights, we have achieved together the unthinkable in the past 5 years." Of course, Dr. Helena Dalli's commitment to equality is long-standing and deeply rooted in her career. In Malta, she played a pivotal role in transforming the country's social fabric, both from the opposition benches, where we spent quite a long number of years, and more so as a government minister. She introduced a wide range of equality-focused legislation, including the introduction of marriage equality, anti-discrimination laws, legislation against precarious working conditions, free childcare for all working parents or parents in education, and the strengthening of the minimum wage, just to name a few. Her 45 years in politics have been totally dedicated to improving the lives of those who have felt marginalized and to advancing social democratic values. We do look forward to many more years of her impactful work. And now, without further ado or delay, I give the floor to Commissioner Dalli, who will provide us with an overview of the significant achievements of the past 5 years. Thank you very much.
As ever, he's taken over, and there's not much left for me to say. But I want to tell you how happy I am to be here, and how happy I am when in the morning I take out my red suit from the closet, because I knew I was going to be with my progressive political family. So thank you for inviting me. And Alex said, I've known Helena for a long time. Well, when Alex was foreign minister, I was an 18-year-old student militating in the Labour Party already. So yes, we go back a long time. So, but we have the same spirit and will to change things, because we are progressives, of course. And as the designated European Commission prepares to take on the new mandate, we must take stock of our vision for Europe and the achievements and setbacks of the current mandate in relation to social and demographic changes and the geopolitical situation we are in. As the Commissioner for Equality, I call on a reflection regarding the progressive economic and social policies we want for an equal Europe. The project of a Union of Equality, launched at the beginning of the current mandate, is being delivered through 5 distinct, yet I would say interlinked strategies, covering the grounds of anti-discrimination, protected under the treaty, namely sex, racial and ethnic origin, religion and belief, age, sexual orientation, and disability. They reflect the Commission's commitment to a pluralistic, gender equal and inclusive society where LGBTIQ people, racialized people, Roma, and persons with disabilities are treated equally and can fully participate and contribute to society. Its strategy contributes towards making the EU a vibrant society and a resilient economy where everyone can thrive, working towards targets of the European Pillar of Social Rights and addressing the green and digital twin transition. The gender equality strategy addressed these goals through a vision of Europe where all women and men, girls and boys, in all their diversity, can thrive, lead, and be free. The strategy is articulated around 3 main pillars: ensuring freedom from gender-based violence and gender stereotypes to ensure women can participate in a healthy and safe way to society and the labor market, making sure that women and men have equal opportunities to thrive on the labor market and be economically independent, and guaranteeing that women and men have equal chances to lead in our European society in democratic processes or as entrepreneurs. Today, I will focus on women's economic contribution and empowerment. To reach 75% of employment among women and ultimately close the gender employment gap, we must value our work equally to that of our male colleagues. The Commission proposed the directive on binding pay transparency measures with the aim to ensure workers' right to equal pay for work of equal value, as stated in the EU treaty. It does so by encouraging employers to put forward effective measures and member states to provide tools to close the gender pay gap. For women and men to be able to be professionally active, on the one hand, we must ensure that structures are in place to combine work-related choices and private and family engagements on the other. We know that having accessible and affordable care structures affects whether and how women engage in paid work. The Work-Life Balance Directive, along with the revision of the Barcelona targets on childcare and the care strategy, ensure a better compatibility between work and private life choices, encouraging an equal sharing of care responsibilities between women and men. The Work-Life Balance Directive introduced EU-wide minimum standards on the rights to paternity, parental and carers leave, as well as the right to request flexible working arrangements. The European Care Strategy calls on member states to improve the availability, affordability, and quality of their care services for both childcare and long-term care. Women need to be at the table where decisions are taken. So with the adoption of the directive on gender balance on company boards, we have taken important steps to ensure that women are represented in economic leadership positions across the Union. This directive requires listed companies to strive to have at least 40% of the underrepresented gender amongst the members of non-executive boards or 33% amongst all directors. In building a stronger and more resilient union where everyone can enjoy equal opportunities to flourish, we have made significant progress thanks also to our other equality strategies. Under the first ever LGBTIQ equality strategy, the Anti-Racism Action Plan, the Roma Strategic Framework for Equality, Inclusion and Participation, and the Disability Rights Strategy, the Commission has worked closely with member states to develop, adopt, and implement national strategies and action plans. The Commission adopted a proposal to provide clear rules on the recognition of parenthood in cross-border situations, which would ensure the rights of rainbow parents are also recognized across the Union. To tackle racism and discrimination, the Commission appointed a coordinator on anti-racism in 2020. We have set measurable targets for Roma equality, inclusion, and participation for the first time. Likewise, persons with disabilities have the right to participate fully in all aspects of life, including politics, education, culture, leisure, and employment. This is the essence of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, to which the EU and all its member states are parties. The strategy for the rights of persons with disabilities has been an essential tool for implementing the Convention and promoting the rights and the inclusion of persons with disabilities through more than 50 actions and 7 flagship initiatives. For instance, our disability employment package will contribute to ensure that persons with disabilities enjoy social inclusion and economic autonomy through employment. And the introduction of the European Disability Card and the European Parking Card will ensure cross-border recognition of disability status, facilitating free movement and equal enjoyment of the rights of persons with disabilities across the EU. Another key achievement is the adoption of new common binding standards to strengthen national equality bodies as regards their independence, resources, and powers. This will ensure that our Union of Equality is structurally rooted at national, regional, and local levels. Nonetheless, targeted equality measures alone, of course, do not suffice. We must also mainstream equality across other policy areas at the EU level, and this is the dual approach that each of our strategies envisioned. For instance, the promotion of gender equality must be an integral part of broad or sectoral policies, legislative initiatives, and funding programs, including those that will shape the future of Europe, innovation and research, the clean industrial deal, or the digital world. That's what we call gender mainstreaming. Applied systematically, gender mainstreaming can significantly transform society and institutions. Throughout its mandate, the Commission continued to make progress on mainstreaming gender equality across different EU policies. Our achievements were possible thanks to the political will to put equality on the agenda and the standalone portfolio, and the structural changes in the administration, such as the Commission's Equality Task Force and mainstreaming of equality in all policies and processes, and the alignment of financial resources with the political priorities, including through the advancement of gender mainstreaming in EU funding. We have indeed made significant progress during this mandate. The Directive on Combating Violence Against Women and Domestic Violence is a milestone, I would say, the first legal instrument at EU level to tackle violence against women. The directive represents an important step towards promoting change in social and cultural patterns of behavior and ultimately reducing the prevalence of all forms of violence against women and domestic violence in the EU. In particular, the directive contains strong provisions to fight cyber violence, the most prevalent form of violence against women and girls in Europe. Despite this work, we remain far from having achieved equality, and it is important to continue building a union of equality until we achieve this goal. This is why I welcome President von der Leyen's political guidelines presented in July, in which she proposes an updated strategy on LGBTIQ equality, developing a new anti-racism strategy for post-2025, and a new gender equality strategy post-2025, in addition to a high-level political roadmap for women's rights. So our work for persons with disabilities and for the inclusion of Roma communities will be also retained in the next mandate. This shows our continued commitment and a recognition that equality is an ongoing project and can never be taken for granted and must continue to be protected and developed. Recently, under the Belgian presidency, in the La Hulpe Declaration on the Future of Social Europe, we recommitted to the foundations of the European Pillar of Social Rights: equal opportunities for all, fair working conditions, social protection, and inclusion. Therefore, in her political guidelines, President von der Leyen called for progress in key areas of our social model and social key areas and the social market economy through a new action plan on the implementation of the pillar. Priorities include combating poverty and social exclusion, promoting quality jobs and skills for all, social dialogue, and affordable housing. Europe must continue to support people, strengthening our societies and its social model, and reinforcing a union of equality for all. Thank you.
I shall now ask for questions from the floor, but I must, before, introduce Lina again. But I just want to put one procedural point, that Commissioner Dalli must leave us at 3 o'clock. So let's try and squeeze in.
So thank you very much. It's for me an honor to be in this legacy speech, really very much. I'm a great admirer of your work and of you, Helena. Well, it has been already said, it is really amazing, the legacy you have given us as a progressive family, as European women and women worldwide, and to our principles and fundamental values. It's just amazing. So I will not I will not go through it. So I'm here very comfortable because, as you could imagine, I'm vice president of FEPS, but I'm also now the FEMM chair, and you have been also very open and very transparent and very democratic to work with Parliament always, and to have also our view, which is not always the case with all the commissioners, I have to say. But Helena was really great on that, and this is something very important for someone from our family, but also from the European Parliament perspective, because it's the hub of democracy, but we need real Democrat people in order to show it. So I cannot stay longer because I'm hosting in the Parliament an event on sexual and reproductive rights. And as you could imagine, this is central now because we are under attack. I mean, this equality agenda, all was what we are fighting for, is really now under attack. It is central to all the anti-democratic, neo-authoritarian, whatever you want to call them, but they are stronger and stronger, and for them to eliminate, to end up the equality agenda, the feminist agenda, the LGBTQI+ agenda, it is central because we have improved democracy with all this equality agenda, and obviously they know that. And they want really to cancel and to end up this agenda in order to end up democracy. So we have to be very strong in order to defend our legacy, your legacy, in order to improve even more women's rights and gender equality within European Union, I will even say abroad. Of course, we need to continue with a very ambitious agenda. I mean, you have done so much that it could be think that there is nothing else to do, but there are still a lot of things to do. And obviously, you promoted the CARES strategy, but probably we really need to move to a CARE deal because with a time use policy, because the inequalities there are so large. And they are also having huge impact in so many other things. So probably we could move to a parity directive. We will talk, So we have still many, many issues to go on, especially regarding labor market too, since we are still earning less. We have a higher education degrees, stock, and so on and so forth, but still we are earning less. We are still arriving less to the top positions. We have less activity rates, high unemployment rate. We could continue. There is a lot of inequality still in the labor market that are very much linked with all the inequalities in the unpaid care. And we need, of course, you have done an amazing job there too, but probably we need to push even more on this mainstreaming. And it is important that already from the Commission, all the legislation proposals are coming already with kind of this mainstreaming, because otherwise it is difficult from the European Parliament to amend them, because we are fighting all the time among the different committees, and the FEMM committee cannot claim to be also an important committee in any file if there is nothing that on gender equality already or on FEMM committee. Otherwise, we have not the legitimacy to do it. So it is so important, and for that we need obviously political will first. We need coordination inside the Commission. Obviously, we need money. A lot of money, not a lot, but at least enough money, and to maintain the task force you mentioned in each one of the DGs. Probably we need as well knowledge and expertise. And except probably in my dear Hungary that gender studies are not legal anymore, unfortunately. In the rest of European universities, there are wonderful gender equality and feminist programs, and there are a lot of young women and men that are very well prepared. So we need to push them to get into the Commission and to fool the Commission and the Parliament with a feminist, progressive, and gender equality expertise. So that will be very good. Because we need also to evaluate the impact of the policies, wonderful pieces of legislation and policies we have went through. And obviously for that, again, we need very good data. We need a lot of expertise. We have here EIGE with us. We need really a good funding for them, because they need to help us evaluating the real impact of all these policies and how to do it, obviously, with intersectionality approach, because we really need that. We really need this intersectional approach, and not sometimes we use in a way that we treat women as a minority. No, we are not a minority. We are the majority of the population. 10 more million in the European Union. 10 more million. So we cannot be treated ever as a minority. So we really need a lot of this gender mainstreaming, especially in funding in the MFF, and to evaluate what we have done and to see the real impact and how great milestones as the gender-based violence directive will be implemented. We really need to be very careful, and because women and victims in all European countries really need to be protected and to have the resources to have a life they deserve. So I don't want to take more time, because as I say, I have to go to fight for sexual and reproductive rights, as human rights is the area in which we are receiving more and more attacks our agenda is receiving more and more attacks. So just to count with your legacy, with you, with Zita, the PS woman, with FEPS, Laszlo, and everybody, really to make what they are doing, but in the right way. I mean, they are, for them, for the anti-democrats, anti-gender agenda policies are at the core of their strategies, are at the core of their political wills and strategies. So we need to do the same, but to protect and to advance in democracy through gender equality. So thank you very much. Really, it had been amazing to work with you from the European Parliament all these last 5 years, and I hope we keep working for this, our socialist, progressive, and feminist values, because are the values that will transform our society in a better society. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Vice President of the think tank FEPS, the think tank of think tanks all over Europe, for the progressive way forward, because you have demonstrated your passionate commitment, but not only the passion, and I think this is the most important thing that you have been demonstrating this afternoon, is the ingredients that are so requisite to have a good activism. Brava. Thank you very, very, very much. I now have the honor of also inviting another old friend of mine, Zita Gurmai. No, at least there are a lot of younger ones to get a good average age here this afternoon. Otherwise, we would topple the boat. Zita, you have the floor, most willingly, most devotedly.
Okay, fine. So first of all, thank you very, very much. All those who believe that the decision, thanks for the PS fight for the last 20 years for having an equality commissioner, was a success? No, I'm just asking. Can you tell me? Okay. Why I'm asking? Because there is another commissioner sitting in the room, Laszlo Andor, who has been also a commissioner. And of course, he dealt with social, labor, and inclusion. He has been an amazing partner of PS FEMM that time, and I just would like to let you know that we did a lot of fight. So we were very clear with Ursula von der Leyen. We made it clear with the G+, all women organizations. We need to have a portfolio which deals only with equality, nothing else, because this is a huge portfolio. So let's make it happen. Because if we respect the work of Helena Dalli, if we respect the work on the field that she achieved, I don't need to repeat, because I'm sure that you all know. I think we should make chapeau, as the French say. And of course, let me go back a bit, because I'm a founding mother as FEPS former vice president funding this amazing foundation. We had two men, president and the secretary general. Then we had a scientific council having a man chair. And now Lina is the chair of the FEPS Scientific Council. We have a lot of amazing academicians in this council. And then the president is a woman, and the secretary general is a feminist man. That's this is what type of Europe we need. We need feminist people who understand what the progressive wants to do. And of course, I believe that besides Helena, whom I believe that I know for 20 years. I'm not going to make a fight on that, because we started together when I started as a member of European Parliament. The first what we did, Europe through gender lenses, you know, how it happened 10, 20 years ago, and actually where we are now. And of course, I would say that she really showed the progressive leadership, including Nicola Schmidt, and I can also tell a lot of other colleagues who did a great job. But as Lina said, there is still much work to do. And of course, you really played a huge role as a truly dedicated feminist commissioner. We could feel it. So big congratulations. Can you, everybody show a little hard? Can you show a little hard? Can you all do a little hard? Can you do a little heart to show how much we love her? Because that's also love, that's also emotion that we need to talk. And that's what we need, not push back on women's rights and gender equality, as you know. So, let me quote our great commissioner, because she has been doing a lot of job, and of course we had a lot of bilateral meetings, and she also mentioned in a beautiful article for our newsletter, and that's the promotion of FEPS Women newsletter, there were difficulties in the last term in the level of ambition when translating policies into practice. And that will be something we will have to be aware and cautious about in this new term, because it's nice to finally celebrate legislation adoption, but it's better to see result in practice, and then can be done only through commitment to implementation by the member states. Unfortunately, it is the most difficult part to control the implementation. And that's why the job of the Commissioner, Haja Labib, and her staff will have a difficult job. But tell me, how can preparedness and crisis management goes with equality? Not a single minute for equality beside this portfolio. I feel very sorry for that. So that's why I think we really need to do the utmost to make sure that equality stays, of course, alone. And of course, that leads me to share how disappointed I am, because I know that you are us. You can come and touch her. She's somebody who is ready to talk to you, because this is what we need, human beings who understand the personal problems of not us politicians, but ordinary people, LGBTIQ people who suffer in Hungary and a lot of other member states. So that's what they need to understand as well. And of course, what reassures me so is that in a mission letter that, of course, she mentioned several of our key demands, I'm talking about Ursula von der Leyen, she also put in her political guidelines. For example, to develop a roadmap for women's rights for International Women's Day 2025. But we had a Women's Rights Charter. All the socialists read in the parliament, signed in the parliament, because this is the basic. This is the basic that you have to be part of that. And of course, this roadmap, which will be setting out to the key gender equality policy principle for the years ahead, and help to frame the work for a new gender equality strategy, updating action on all issues affecting women. Well, of course, I already mentioned the implementation. I didn't see it as a part of the mission letter, so we can realistically think it will not be done. But at least she asked to ensure the full implementation of the Istanbul Convention, which is good. I have been the rapporteur in the Council of Europe twice of the Istanbul Convention, so we should have a real clap hands for her, because that has been an amazing achievement of beside the fact the equal pay for equal work, but that is our baby from 2004. Vladimir Spidla has been the commissioner, and he also understood that this is an issue that we have to deal with. And of course, I could talk much longer, but I just have one question to Helena. What do you think will be the biggest policy challenge ahead for this new term, and how we as social democratic family can continue to be the driving force to influence the new commissioner to deliver? So, and greetings from the Korčula School, because I did not tell that Alex and we know each other, because Central and Eastern Europeans, Southeastern Europeans keep together. So love you all. Let's make sure that equality stays as it is, because it has been doing a great job by Helena Dalli.
Bravo.
Thank you very, very much, Zita. I think that the European Parliament for the next 5 years can rest with its eyes closed that equality and gender inequality is going to have a powerful motor in Zita to compensate for any lack of equality in the Commission. So, brava Zita, keep the flag flying.
Thank you.
Time is pressing. I'll bunch your question with another 3 questions which we can take, so that then Helena will answer all 4 together, because time is, as usual, unforgivable.
Thank you very much, Helena. It's been a pleasure to work with you. I'm Shada Islam. Among other things, I'm an op-ed writer for The Guardian and for the EU Observer, working a lot on diversity issues. Commissioner, you're leaving at a time when, as your colleagues have said, the Europe, the Commission, the Parliament are swerving even further and further towards the far right. The equality agenda, ladies, is not just about gender female, it's also about race and ethnicity. And Helena, you were spearheaded an anti-racism action plan. How confident are you that in these difficult times, parts of it that are so crucial at a time when racism is on the rise, Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, how confident are you that parts of that, your legacy, will be implemented? And what would you recommend? What is your advice to Labib, who, as you've said, will not have a standalone portfolio? It is a downgrade of the equality portfolio for many of us. So what is your advice to her? Thank you very much.
Let's take another two and two. So another one, or do you want to bunch that with Zita's?
Two with Zita.
Bunch with Zita's because they're of
One
the same.
and one
They're
make
of
two.
the same genre.
If you put another one, it's
Yes,
three.
yes, but it depends if they're male or it depends whether they are male or female.
Numbers are numbers. No, thank you for these two questions. Of course, now we have to practice what we preach, and we have come to that stage. I think for these 5 years, we have been laying the foundations for a strong Union of Equality agenda for all of Europe. And via our legislation, our strategies, our policies, we were laying things, and I always insisted that unless, and this is science, unless the foundation is strong, the edifice will collapse. So we needed to have this strong foundation. So there was the opportunity of having a standalone portfolio for equality, and we could lay the strong foundation. Now you asked me about the challenges today. I would say that it's the implementation now, the working with the member states to see that the legislation, that the directives are actually implemented. Because sometimes, I mean, I was a minister before being commissioner, and once the process of the directive or the transposition is in place, okay, so now the EU cannot chase us anymore because we have the directive. But of course, there is much more to that. There is the fact that we see that this directive, this particular, is really making an improvement in the people it was aimed for. Unless it is touching these people, then we have the legislation which is there, and this is what the work of the new commission, I would say, would be this. With some countries, it's hand-holding, literally, because I have learned in these 5 years how different the binaries are, in the sense that some countries are running ahead, others are at a standstill, maybe running on the spot, but they have done some progress. Others are lagging behind and trying to pull everyone back with them. That is the reality, that when you are speaking about the European Union, you are not speaking about one country where you can say, oh, a lot of progress has been done there, because we have all the rest of the country. And I'm afraid to say that we have to be stronger, and in the sense that we have more people who are pulling back at this point in time, as was said earlier, the parliament, governments veering towards the far right, which is obviously the opposite of our progressive agenda. So that will be the challenge, seeing that what we have done is actually touching people and improving their lives, and that we continue to build on this foundation and build strongly, so that we will eventually really have what we can really call a union of equality. Now, Shada, with regards to the anti-racism action plan, when we were in the process of writing it, I made it a point that, although there was some objection to it, that we actually call it anti-racism. Because when you say anti-racism, it's active. A lot of people say, I'm not a racist, but do nothing about it. But when you say I'm an anti-racist, it means you are active, you are doing something about it. And you might say, what's in a name? But I think it's very important that the name itself shows that all of us have to work in the area of racism and be anti-racist. I've had my ups and downs, as you very well know. Controversies were created because of what I was doing. Even lies were said about some work which we were, because there were some governments who were afraid that talking about anti-Muslim hatred would make the far right work more against them. So these were the realities which I was facing after the fact that it was a struggle also to set off the anti-racism action plan. But to me, you cannot have a union of equality where people are still being discriminated against because of how they speak, because of the color of their skin, because of where they come, even though they are European citizens. and so really, we have to talk more about this. So it wasn't easy. Probably that was the most difficult part of my mandate, having to introduce, wanting, not having. I mean, I wanted to do it. I wasn't asked to do it, so wanting to do it. And I was telling my colleagues, and I had support in college, that we are sitting on a volcano waiting to erupt. There were some who were saying, oh, but that's in the United States. But then things happened, and they realized that maybe Helena Dalli is right. We are sitting on a volcano, and we have to do much more, and that's a very big challenge for the next college. And I cannot tell you how many sleepless nights I've had because of this reality. Because even when, I'll just give you one example. We are getting employees from third countries, okay? So they are not people from the European Union. And they are taking care of the persons who we care for most. Our parents, our elderly parents, our children with disabilities. But these people, they come here with bad conditions of employment. So that is why in the care strategy, we said we must look at the conditions of employment of our carers and not let the care sector. Why doesn't anybody want to go in the care sector? Because the conditions are not good. I call it the Cinderella of employment, okay? So they come here, they are doing very hard work, they don't have good conditions of employment, and they are discriminated against, and they are insulted. We still have these, we know we have these realities. So and the more years pass, the more we need, because as we know, the European Union is an aging continent. Okay, we are aging. So the more we age, the more we need care workers. The more we speak about the deinstitutionalization of persons with disabilities, the more we need care workers. But at the same time, there's this hostility because we are racists. Okay, so that is why I say we must learn to be anti-racist. Even though we think we are not racist, we must do something about it. So this is the volcano that we are going to have more workers coming in from outside the European Union. And if we don't address the racism issue, we are going to have a lot of social upheavals. There's no social cohesion. When you hate people who are coming here to do the job which we don't want to do, and which is all about, it's the most important job, caring for my mother or caring for my disabled child. What can be more important than that? And we are insulting these people. And when we speak about this, they say, hey, okay, don't speak too much about anti-Muslim hatred. And I had many stories. I was even accused of meeting with a group of Muslim people who were in the Council of Europe and were doing a project, and they were on a transparency register. So I mean, it was very legible. They said, oh, this commissioner is meeting. You know, I meet everyone because everybody is a human being. And that is the union of equality, where every human being can thrive and can reach his or her full potential. But if we discriminate, they cannot do that. And we lose a lot of resources and a lot of talent because of our discrimination. So thank you, Shada, for your support. And I hope that you will continue to expose the European Union for what it is in this sense. Are we doing enough for our societies, for the different societies which we live in? And I hope that what I am thinking will happen will not happen. My background is a sociologist, and I know something about social cohesion and social unrest and what causes this. And I am afraid this is my prediction, unless we really become, all of us, anti-racist and work against this scourge, which is really creating a lot of hardship in our societies. Thank you.
We take additional.
Last three questions.
Hello, my name is Panayotis. I represent the Organizing Bureau of European School Student Unions. I was honored enough to work with you some years ago with the European Year of Youth. But thinking about your legacy, because truly we're talking about legacy, if I think the words of Union of Equality, of United Diversity, you made those words take shape and meaning. But what we see now is that all this development of understanding and having institutions talking about intersectionality, the work and value given to the students themselves, defining the policies that affect their life in education, in their future in work, and all the elements of life they have to go through. Our fear is that all this progress that have been done in equality now comes into question, with education being shifted more into the opportunity for employment rather than being educated to know how to respond to challenges, how to come closer to other different people than you. What is your reflection on that with the current proposal for the Commission's composition? And how can we work with the institutions to ensure that students will not become part of receiving decisions than being the ones shaping those decisions? Thank you.
My name is Yet. I work on strategic narratives, and just one comment, which is often found in Brussels, is when we talk about, anti-racism, we're always talking about this narrative of the people coming within Europe, the carers, which is great work that you've done. And I'm just wondering whether we should start talking about sort of Europeans who are Europeans and who are not represented in the institutions who have been born here. So just potentially thinking that we're not only addressing people who are coming, but people who belong here, yet the institutions do not make them feel that they belong.
Final question down there, please. Mike.
Thanks very much. Jude Curtin. Okay, I'll be very quick then. Jude Curtin-Darling, I'm General Secretary of Industrial Europe, so Europe's industrial workers. And this is about your legacy, but potentially about how we take forward the legacy as well, right? And the mission letters, in all of the mission letters, started with pages about deregulation or about reducing burden, dealing with reporting. And we know from our employers that they have in their sights many of the achievements that are part of your legacy, particularly pay transparency, as one of the pieces of legislation they would like to hollow out through reducing reporting standards. So what's your advice to us about how we build a barrier to avoid that the things that we've gained in this 5 years aren't torn down in the next 5 years behind the scenes through this deregulation push? Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, my motto, stolen from the disability group, is nothing about us without us. And I think it applies to every sector, not just the disability sector. As a former minister, one of the first things I had done when I became minister was to appoint consultative councils in the different areas I was working. So I had a consultative council made up of LGBTIQ NGOs to advise me on the legislation I was preparing. I had a consultative council for women's rights, a consultative council for migrant rights, because I wanted to listen from them, because you are the experts about your lives. And there is so much that I could learn from the people actually living their daily lives in their particular circumstances. So my advice to other policymakers is to listen to the persons concerned in order to be able to have the best legislation possible, because it is going to touch the lives of the people who you would have had a dialogue with. I think that is of the essence. I have used it as minister. I have used that also as commissioner, and I believe that this is the foundation of starting a policy, starting a legislation, having a dialogue with the persons concerned. And that is why, as Lina said, I'm a very good friend of the Parliament, because I always consulted them. As commissioner, we are not in touch with people every day. It is the parliamentarians who are in touch with their electorates, and they can really speak about their needs, about their realities, about their circumstances. So my contact with the Parliament was specifically for this, to listen to the representatives of our citizens directly. So it's a very good point that you make. Yes, about Europeans in Europe, yes, that is. We are not one homogeneous group. We are not all the same. We all have our different realities. And because it could be because we are perceived as different, maybe, even though Europeans, because discrimination doesn't come outside towards people from outside the EU. There's a lot of discrimination within the EU as well, and that is why also we did quite a bit of work even within the Commission itself, like seeing the recruitment process, for instance. The surnames which are eliminated from going for an interview because of the particular. Some people would even go as far as changing their so these are realities which people who have been born in the European Union and have wanted to make a career in the European Union, but they are discriminated against nonetheless. So there is a very important question that we put. I have discussed it with employers. I have discussed it with the European Commission as an employer, and they started making these analyses of where the people within the Commission are coming from within the European Union, and who they are, and what are their characteristics, and it's an ongoing process, because I've had flagged exactly what you are saying, but I said, first of all, we have to look within in order to be able to preach out there. So thank you for your question, although not a lot of people would think about what you pointed out, but it is there and it is real. So thank you for bringing this up. Well, the big work, as I said, has to start now, really, and it's very important what you said, because before we introduced the equal pay, the pay transparency directive. I won't tell you. Well, the workers' unions know how much fights, I would say, I had with the employers' unions, because they were saying, "Oh no, there's no," and I said, "Well, where does this 14% discrepancy come from?" I said, I have the numbers. I'm not just thinking that women are paid less than men. We have the numbers. So it was very, very, very hard to convince employers. And I'm sure now they're very happy that I'm gone, that I will be gone soon, and that they will certainly try to water down. Already what there isn't what I had set out to do, as you very well know, from the very beginning, because it was like this. You had the workers' unions telling you they want more, the employers' unions telling you they want less, and then you try to find a happy medium, but I was, of course, more inclined. Come on, I come from the Workers' Party, and my sympathy was more with. But I understand also that employers, they create employment, and so we had to try. But I have no doubt that what you are forecasting will happen, that they will try very hard. So please be eagle-eyed. And really be on the lookout, and Zita and all the women parliamentarians and people who want really this directive to be a success. I think it should really, really be hawks and eagles and hawks, and it's the birds directive, I think. Because it's not easy to keep what there is, let alone strengthen what there is in the, and that is really the minimum what we have, because it was really, really, really an uphill struggle to have the pay transparency directive, but we have it. So now the ball is in your court to see and to protest and to demonstrate outside the Parlement if that is touched. So thank you for your support, thank you for your work, and I hope to be coming to FEPS as well as it has been. Thank you.
Helena, thank you so much for not only this afternoon, obviously, but for your 5 years hard work, which have been so clearly demonstrated by the attachment to your various accomplishments all over your domains, because it was quite a large area of responsibilities that you were covering as a first-time commissioner, laying the groundwork. And I think that most of you, if not all of you, will agree that Helena has very successfully laid the groundwork in such a way that there is momentum for the next 5, if not 10 years, if we manage to preserve that momentum and build on it with our new MEPs like Zita and the rest of the women in the European Parliament, because of the groundwork that Helena has so thankfully done. So I think you will all join me in a round of very heartfelt applause for her legacy to us, which we will uphold.